The 1960s was a decade of immense social and cultural change, and music was at the forefront of this revolution. The youth of the era, often referred to as the flower children, embraced music as a form of expression and a tool for social change. Festivals like Woodstock became iconic symbols of this movement, where thousands gathered to celebrate peace, love, and music. It was a time when rock and roll came of age, evolving into a powerful form of expression that challenged conventions and captivated a generation. The raw energy and rebellious spirit of rock and roll resonated deeply with young people who were eager to break free from the conservative norms of the previous decade. Bands like the Rolling Stones and The Who pushed the boundaries of what rock music could be, infusing it with a sense of urgency and defiance. From the British invasion to the psychedelic sounds of San Francisco, the 1960s witnessed an explosion of musical creativity that continues to resonate today. The British invasion, led by bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, brought a fresh and exciting sound to American shores, forever changing the landscape of popular music. Meanwhile, the psychedelic scene in San Francisco, with bands like the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane, explored new sonic territories and expanded the possibilities of what music could be. The music of the 1960s was more than just entertainment. It was a soundtrack to a decade of change. Iconic performances such as Jimi Hendrix's rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock captured the spirit of the times and became defining moments in music history. These performances were not just about the music, they were statements of identity, resistance, and hope. It reflected the hopes, dreams, and anxieties of a generation grappling with war, civil rights, and a rapidly changing world. Songs like Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind and Marvin Gaye's What's Going On addressed the pressing issues of the day, from the Vietnam War to the fight for civil rights. These songs gave voice to the struggles and aspirations of a generation seeking to make sense of a turbulent world. Artists use their music to voice their opinions, challenge authority, and inspire social change. Musicians like Joan Baez and Pete Seeger were at the forefront of the protest movement, using their songs to rally support for causes like civil rights and anti-war efforts. Their music became anthems for a generation determined to create a better world. This potent mix of music and activism helped to define the era and left an indelible mark on history. The 1960s was a time when the lines between art and activism blurred, and music became a powerful tool for social change. The impact of this era can still be felt today, as the music of the 1960s continues to inspire new generations of artists and activists. The 1960s saw the rise of new musical genres, from folk rock to psychedelic rock, pushing the boundaries of musical innovation. Folk rock, with artists like Bob Dylan and the Byrds, combined the storytelling tradition of folk music with the energy and instrumentation of rock, creating a new and exciting sound. Psychedelic rock, on the other hand, experimented with new sounds and recording techniques, creating a surreal and mind-expanding musical experience. Artists experimented with new sounds, instruments, and recording techniques, creating a rich and diverse musical landscape. The use of electric guitars, synthesizers, and studio effects like reverb and delay opened up new possibilities for musical expression. Bands like the Beach Boys and the Beatles pushed the boundaries of what was possible in the studio, creating complex and innovative recordings that still stand as masterpieces today. This period marked a significant departure from the music of the 1950s, embracing a rawer, more energetic sound that reflected the changing times. The polished and controlled sound of the 1950s gave way to a more spontaneous and experimental approach as artists sought to capture the energy and excitement of live performances. This shift in sound was a reflection of the broader cultural changes taking place as society became more open and experimental. It was a time of musical exploration and experimentation that forever altered the course of popular music. The 1960s was a decade of innovation, where artists were not afraid to take risks and push the boundaries of what was possible. This spirit of experimentation led to the creation of some of the most iconic and influential music of all time, and its impact can still be felt in the music of today. In 1964, a phenomenon known as the British invasion took the United States by storm, and at the forefront of this musical revolution were four lads from Liverpool, the Beatles. With their catchy melodies, tight harmonies, and youthful energy, John, Paul, George, and Ringo captured the hearts of millions worldwide. Their music transcended geographical boundaries and cultural differences, creating a shared experience that united fans across the globe. The Beatles' impact went far beyond their music. They became icons of the 1960s counterculture, challenging traditional norms with their long hair, rebellious attitude, and experimental music. Their songs became anthems for a generation yearning for change, peace, and self-expression. They inspired countless young people to pick up instruments and form bands, sparking a musical revolution that continues to this day. From Love Me Do to Let It Be, the Beatles' music evolved over the decade, reflecting their own personal growth in the changing times. They explored different genres, experimented with new sounds, and delved into introspective lyrics, pushing the boundaries of popular music. Their influence on music is immeasurable, inspiring generations of musicians and shaping the sound of popular music for decades to come. While the Beatles were charming the world with their pop sensibilities, another artist was emerging from the folk scene, offering a different kind of revolution. Bob Dylan, with his poetic lyrics and distinctive voice, became the voice of a generation searching for meaning and authenticity. His songs, often laced with social commentary and political protest, resonated deeply with those disillusioned by war and injustice. Dylan's music was raw, honest, and unflinchingly real. He sang about the struggles of everyday people, the civil rights movement, and the anti-war sentiment brewing in the United States. Songs like Blowin' in the Wind and The Times, They Are a Changin', became anthems for the counterculture movement, their lyrics echoing the calls for change and social justice. Unlike the polished pop of many of his contemporaries, Dylan's music was raw and unpolished, his voice a gravelly rasp that conveyed the weight of his words. He wasn't afraid to challenge authority, question conventions, and speak truth to power. This authenticity resonated with millions, making him one of the most influential songwriters of the 20th century. His music continues to inspire and provoke, reminding us of the power of words and the importance of speaking out against injustice. The 1960s witnessed a seismic shift in the world of rock guitar, and leading the charge was a young virtuoso named Jimi Hendrix. With his blistering solos, innovative techniques, and psychedelic stage presence, Hendrix redefined the possibilities of the electric guitar, pushing the boundaries of rock music into new and uncharted territories. Hendrix's music was a fusion of blues, rock, and psychedelia, creating a sound that was both exhilarating and groundbreaking. His performances were legendary, filled with extended jams, mind-bending solos, and a raw energy that captivated audiences. He wasn't afraid to experiment with feedback, distortion, and the whammy bar, creating a sonic landscape that was both innovative and influential. Songs like Purple Haze and Hey Joe became instant classics, showcasing Hendrix's unparalleled guitar skills and his ability to blend genres seamlessly. He became a symbol of the psychedelic era, his music embodying the experimental and rebellious spirit of the time. Even though his career was tragically cut short, his influence on rock music is immeasurable, inspiring generations of guitarists and solidifying his place as one of the greatest guitarists of all time.